Welcome to the IP2 podcast. I'm Shea Ashby, and as always, I'm joined by Felix Chung. We are honored to be joined by the runner-up of the recent Battle Hardened Las Vegas and our first repeat guest on our podcast, Andrew Padlesky. Welcome back.
Hey guys, so happy to be back. I love this podcast.
This is your third time on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still as fun exciting to be on the podcast it was the first two times?
Absolutely. I got nervous. I had to make coffee. I was so excited. I wanted to go to bed early, just getting home from Las Vegas today, but I had to stay up. It's too exciting.
Fair enough. Appreciate it. So we're going to start with, I guess, heading out to Las Vegas, starting with you, Andrew. When did you head out to Las Vegas?
I went out Thursday after work. I worked a half day until noon, and then it was like rush home, grab everything, shower, eat, change, and then to the airport. And I got to Vegas around like 6 or 7 p.m. local time.
Okay. Was there anything on the docket for you on Thursday?
Well, I have two American video game friends that I kind of made this whole vacation plan with to meet up with them in Vegas. I haven't seen them since 2017 and some Magic events.
Okay.
And then also traveling with Thomas and Karen from Alberta. So it was very exciting to try to get there, meet up with the whole gang, see everyone again, and get food and just start experiencing Vegas.
Okay, cool. And what video game did you, meet them or play with them?
It kind of became some of everything. At first, I met this absolute delight of a person named Anthony because of Magic the Gathering through some friends that I had met playing like StarCraft 2 online and Counter-Strike and just all the games. And that led to meeting the other beauty, Reese. And we will get into that too because I know you guys are going to ask me what I got up to in Vegas. And Reese has been to Vegas 4 or 5 times. And he was just the most amazing tour guide anyone could have asked for.
Awesome. And Felix, you went out a little bit earlier than Andrew.
Yeah, I was able to scout things out a little bit. I went down on Wednesday. Just scouted out the venue. It was pretty nice, actually. I'm not used to seeing hotels of the size of what they come in Vegas, like 2,000 rooms or something.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Westgate, which we stayed at, was by any measure one of the biggest in Las Vegas. So it was a bit of a shock. I know they always tell you, be prepared, Las Vegas is not like any other city in the world, but I had never been. Okay. So definitely it was really cool just to get there, see things. You opened up the airplane door and just a wave of heat and humidity hits you like, holy,
yeah.
I'm not ready for this. I'm Canadian.
It's a heat that we're not used to.
Yeah,
it was bad. Like just plus 40 immediately. It was so bad.
Yeah, that's rough.
It was crazy.
Yeah, Vegas is an interesting place. Like I've been a few times myself, and it's not just about gambling. For those that haven't gone, there's so many things to do. There's so many sights to see, events to go watch. There's obviously the gambling. They have a ton of food there. There's so much to do that if gambling's not your thing, there's a lot of things that you can still do. And it's one of the best places to go people watch. There's always something happening on the strip that's exciting.
Yes.
So one thing that became apparent to me as soon as I arrived at the hotel was that there was another convention booked at the same time as us, and it was the Mrs. America contest.
Oh, really?
Which was actually hilarious because this is definitely two cultures colliding. You have the flesh and blood trading card game competitors, and at the same time walking side by side by the Mrs. America competitors in their very expensive, very nice dresses. And
what a clashing of two worlds. Right? Oh my God. We got there Thursday night and all of the glamored up ladies were in the lobby taking pictures, celebrating everything. And there was just trains of fab nerds coming through the doors, their suitcases, their nerdy or their band shirts. They still had like the neck pillows around their necks, just strolling in. Man. So lost, so completely like just unassuming and taken in by all the bright lights of Vegas. It was very funny to people watch.
That's hilarious. That's the first I've heard of this. I didn't know that the pageant or whatever was going on at the time. That's pretty funny.
It was crazy. There was also like some sort of amateur boxing like nationals competition as well, like in the hall right next to ours. Like there's just so many people.
There's always stuff going on in Vegas, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So on Thursday, I also had my judge conference. So in the morning, a bunch of us decided to get an Uber over to the Cosmopolitan and indulge in one of the legendary buffets of Las Vegas. Unfortunately, due to the aftermath of Hurricane Hillary, as I understand it, there was a lot of standing water everywhere and traffic was really bad. So did a lot of running around, still had an epic buffet. The amount of food that's available in Vegas is also shocking.
It's insane.
I ate very well when I was down there.
Same.
It's like going to Mexico and getting like all you can drink. You know, at the first couple of days, you're just taking it all in, and then eventually you're like, I'm going to kill myself if I keep up this pace. You got to slow down.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, at the dinners, these tiny drinks ended up being like $12 or like $21 sometimes. But then we found out it's like pretty socially acceptable to just walk around with like metal water bottles filled with liquor.
Okay.
And so there was places all over the place where you could just be buying like rum and Pepsi and just, I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't remember. We'll put it that way.
All right. So Thursday judge conference, how did that go for you, Felix?
Yeah, it was awesome. There were a ton of people. I mean, this sounds really nerdy to, voluntarily go to a judge conference, perhaps. Sit down for 4 to 5 hours just hearing people give speeches about various topics, but I found them to be incredibly interesting. There was one about just common rules interactions in this meta and what to be prepared for. Then I gave my presentation about identifying key aspects of a community and its values and how we can use our authority and our obligation to uphold the values of a community as judges to foster that community. And it's a lot of stuff that we talk about on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave that presentation. Then Klaus gave a office hours / Q&A, which was really nice. And a bunch of the most experienced judges in the room all sat for a panel and a question and answer session, which was also really nice. So overall, really great educational opportunity, and saw a lot of people again that I hadn't seen for many months. So yeah, all in all, a great time, and also got a chance to scout out the venue, sent some photographs to the people back home just for what to expect. And I think that's when the prize wall got leaked a little bit as well, just showing all the big oversized cards that were available for the weekend.
How did your part of the conference go? How did you feel it was received? How was it speaking in front of the group of people?
Yeah, it was really nice to speak about something that I was familiar with. I got a sense that this was not the type of presentation that was typically delivered at a judge conference, so we'll see what the feedback is. I hope that it was good. I got some very, very lovely engagement after my presentation wrapped up. People just coming to see me and introduce themselves and just identify themselves as similar leaders in their communities to what you and I identify ourselves to be. And just to commiserate about different frustrations or successes that they experienced. So I do hope that the people that enjoyed it really enjoyed it.
Yep.
And yeah, there's a lot of other topics that I'd love to present about. One that comes to mind is just mentoring, and that's going to be a theme of my weekend. How to be a good mentor and how to be a good mentee as well. That seems like a good topic for my next presentation if I would be selected again.
It's interesting to hear you say that it you got a sense that it wasn't something what people were used to, and kind of as you've described some of the other sessions that you've sat in on, they do sound like they're more technical and more rigid's not the right word, but there's a sense of things you can do to improve this and that and the other thing, whereas our approach to the community is a bit more holistic and a bit more through feel and through experience.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's good for a conference to have a variety of different topics, and also just to make sure that the conference itself is not too dry. Because if you just listen to rules interactions for 5 hours, you're probably
Yeah.
going to fall asleep. It's
Yeah.
probably not the
And
best.
did you get any in conference engagement while you were speaking, or was it just like you delivered your speech and then left?
So as a presenter, I am very, very engaging with the audience. Like I'll always ask for a show of hands. I think
Okay.
a really good icebreaker actually is if you just ask people to raise their hands and say, hey, who here has played in an armory once per month, once per week, twice per week, and then you just kind of see the distribution of how often people play, and it helps people engage with each other. Just look around to see, hey, it's like I play twice a week, but so do half the people that are in the audience with me, just to establish some common ground with the audience, and to reinforce that they share a lot of common ground with each other, because we're a lot of us are not just judges, we are also players that care a lot, and that was a big theme of my presentation.
No, awesome. Yeah. My
Yeah,
icebreaker is usually Fat Penguin. I
that's
just thought I'd say something that breaks the ice.
Very good.
okay. Thanks. Thanks.
Oh, there's nowhere to go after that.
That's going right to the end of the episode.
So I guess, Andrew, what did you get up to on Thursday?
Oh man, I'm having such a hard time remembering the differences between Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
That's the only part. While I was writing some notes here, I just can't figure out which day was which. I can hop into the story this way though. One of these nights we went on just the absolute tour of the world with Reese just leading the way.
Okay.
I remember like 4 or 5 Ubers and tram rides. And we went to the Taco Bell cantina and got these really fun giant Blaha Blast drinks in these long cups. And then there was the Miracle Mile Mall and all up and down the strip. And we went to this New York place and rode a roller coaster late at night. It was so much fun. And there was the Bellagio and the Luxor Pyramid, and we ended up down at the M&M store and trying to get in the Coke store, but it was
Yeah.
closed, and some big Excalibur casino, and there
Yep.
was just Uber to casino to casino to casino, just looking at all the, because some of these buildings, like I'm not really going there to gamble, but there's such a cool site to look at, such a huge building, the architecture, all the cool things they have. It was so fun.
Yeah, that's the south end of the strip, if I recall. That
Yeah.
reminds me of, like, I don't want to say my childhood, but I did do Vegas a couple of times as a kid, and we stayed in the Luxor, so we got to see like medieval times, jousting and fighting and having dinner, and then going into the Luxor and the giant
Oh,
light beam
that's
that you
so
can see
fun.
from space, and riding the New York roller coaster that goes on the outside of the hotel is pretty rad. It's such a fun part of the strip. So
That was a good night. That must have been Thursday because we went to this sushi restaurant as well, like at 11 o'clock at night, just blasting this like club music and just like red, blue, and green lights. And
Oh man.
man, downtown or Strip Vegas is quite the time.
mhm.
It's like each of those hotels or resorts are so impressive that just walking through them is like a vacation. Like I'd never been to Vegas. I didn't really get the chance to explore very much. Number one, it was way too hot. Number two,
Yeah.
just a packed itinerary. But even just
Yeah.
walking through the Cosmopolitan, and then there was another one, like it was a beach, like a tropical themed one. I forget the name, but
Treasure
yeah.
Island.
Yes, that's the one. Like the inside looks like your outside. It's
Yeah, it's awesome.
crazy. Like what's happening?
That's
I'm
so
not used to
cool.
this stuff.
Did you guys end up getting to see any of the shows at nighttime that they do, like the Treasure Island show, or is it the Bellagio that has the water one with the music? I forget which one that is. Mirage.
I ended up on Fremont Street on Monday night. And so there was all sorts of almost like street performers all up
Yeah.
and down the street. And then at a certain time at night, the whole ceiling in there, they kind of have it looking like the sky is all just like a giant LED screen, and there was like the Fremont Street experience with this
Yeah.
whole like light show and music and this guy doing flips and juggling upside down and just like all his body weight resting on his head on top of like a bottle of whiskey. Like it was the most Vegas thing I've ever seen
Yeah.
in my life.
Did you do the zip line while you were there?
I did not. We were walking towards it, and then we saw people zip line over top of me, and it seemed pretty short and not very fast,
Okay.
so
Yeah, fair enough.
didn't seem too worth it.
Yeah.
The roller coaster was good though.
Yeah.
Andrew, we're approaching Friday, which is when the tournaments start. And just
Yes.
to back up a little bit, did you prepare for the weekend at all as a player for either the CC events or any of the side events or the Battle Hardened?
I have been focusing on CC and playing Lexi specifically for quite a few months, really hard, messaging friends from all around the world, changing the list constantly, getting other people's opinions on it. Pretty much just all CC. And then we did just have like skirmish season where I was playing a lot of my chain list in Blitz. And chain is something that I have probably put the most time into in this game and have been playing since 2021. So that kind of counts too as some preparation towards the Battle Hardened.
So rolling up to the event, did you feel like you were prepared for what lay ahead?
Yes, I thought so. And I thought I had a pretty good grasp on the meta too. I was expecting a really heavy amount of Lexi, Bravo, and Dromai. And that is what I played in on Friday. The PTI event, I played so many Dromais and Bravos in a row. I think I played 5 Bravos actually in the PTI event, which was really frustrating. But
So how did that go?
I finished 28th place and got 200 tickets. I think I ended up 5 and 3, but I was kind of frustrated with it. I don't know. Bravo's really tough sometimes.
Were a lot of the Bravos on like a super defensive fatigue plan against you?
No, it didn't really seem like it. It seems like, yes, they have like the 6 defense reactions and mostly all 3 blocks, but they're, blocking when their hand isn't so great and trying to send over a massive on-hit effect almost every turn in a row if they can.
Yeah.
Or at least, it's make a seismic surge and swing the hammer and block some, and then next turn big red attack, back and forth. Lexi has a really hard time blocking some of this stuff, and it can be very frustrating when every turn is like Spinal Crush, Starstruck, Spinal Crush, Crippling Crush, and then you see a Command and Conquer, and you're like, oh, finally something chill that I can block with 2 cards, and then you get pummeled.
Yeah, that's classic Bravo. He's when things line up, they line up really well, and when things don't line up, then usually he can just block 12 and try again.
Yeah.
So that was your Friday. What about you, Felix? What were you doing on Friday?
Yeah, I was actually judging the PTI event primarily. I was assigned to the side events team that day, and yeah, just a lot of fun. Usually sides is a pretty chill assignment compared to being assigned to the main event, but the fact that the PTI event, which is technically classified under side events and it is run under competitive REL, the fact that that event got 160 players basically diverted a bunch of the judges that were penciled in to run that true side events over to the PTI. So I was one of those judges. I was not expecting to be on the PTI, but that's where I ended up. And yeah, it was a good just opportunity to get used to that level because the calling, which I was on Saturday, would be the same REL, the same format. And yeah, it was just fun to see the day go by. There were some hiccups at the beginning from an organizational standpoint, just again because we weren't expecting to have so many people involved in the tournament, but that got resolved pretty quickly as the day went on. And it was just fun to see actually how many Canadians showed up as well. I wasn't expecting to see so many familiar faces from BC, and we had the Ontario crew come in as well, and 3 players from Quebec. So just because US Nationals were going on day one, the PTI event seemed to be disproportionately full of Canadians, which was cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of them. My buddy Oscar counted up the Canadian flags in the calling after a round or two, and there was 41 Canadian players we counted in the calling. So I was very proud of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So was there any, you were a floor judge on that day then?
Yeah, I was a floor judge for PTI. I think
Okay.
we didn't have any super advanced assignments because there were only 4 or 5 of us that were devoted to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. Good good leadership that adapted pretty quickly to to that sudden surprise. Because I think we had a lot of late entries, like
Yeah.
people didn't sign up online for the event, or maybe they couldn't have. So it was completely unforecasted how many people turned in their silver tickets. I think it was like the hour before the event, and like blew up the projected numbers by like 3 or 4 times. It was cool.
Cool. Well, I'll throw this question out to both of you. Was there anything spicy or exciting or funny that happened on Friday for either of you? I guess we'll start with Andrew.
Um,
I know it's a blur.
no, not that I can think of right now. I did want to pay a minute here and give some compliments to watching Felix judge in the big atmosphere at a major event. Because of course I've seen it at our local like 32 person events in Calgary. But seeing Felix judging out there, he's like laser focused. His work ethic is through the roof. Like he doesn't even want to take a sip of water. He's not looking at his phone. He's just walking up and down the aisles, just looking at players. Even when like the Calgary group comes over and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Felix!" Like, hi. He will like maybe at the very least give us like a nod of acknowledgement and then straight back to like hard work up and down the aisles. Like I've had so many friends who are judges in TCGs through the years at they's large events, and they'll come up and chat with their friend group while they're just kind of waiting for a judge call that might occur or a hand to raise across the room. But Felix, every time I saw him, also on Saturday, also on Sunday, he's just marching up and down between the tables, looking back and forth between each player, like watching every game like a hawk. And the judge calls, I got to watch him take care of too because I was sitting next to the player or what have you. He handled really professionally, I'd like to say.
Well, I appreciate that, Andrew. These yeah, I really I don't know, it's tough. I really get in work mode when I'm judging, and I hope at a local level as well as at these big event levels. I think yeah, just professionalism is incredibly important, and you never want players to have any question during the calls, you know, even if it's someone that you know or not, that you just always want them to be very confident that the calls are impartial, and appearances matter a lot, unfortunately, in some cases. But yeah, no, thanks a lot for that, Andrew.
Yeah, I was impressed.
Anything that you'd like to recount on the Friday, Felix?
There were just a lot of really cool decks. So Friday was the first glimpse I got, personally, seeing the, what do we call it, like the 3 for 7 Briar or Fatigue Briar, or I don't know, Ira Briar, because that's really the consistency that she gets value out of her hands. So there was one of those near top tables, and I remember seeing that deck for the first time, just not really knowing what was going on. I'm like, huh, this is weird, like another rogue deck, but it kept winning. So that was cool. And there was a really, really good Kano player that ended up winning the entire PTI event as well, just getting to see some of those games. And I took quite a few judge calls involving Kano as well, just you know, just people not being aware of certain interactions. But yeah, it was just a pleasure to see all those different decks. I think there was a Reiner way up there as well. Just a lot of cool decks that can
Yeah.
shine in something like a 160 person event, like the PTI event. It was a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll move into the, I guess, the main part of the weekend. So Saturday was day one of the calling, Andrew, if you want to give us a little bit about that, that would be nice.
Yeah, I registered Lexi for that. My confidence was pretty high. Round 1, I beat a Dash. Round 2, I beat a Lexi in the mirror. I was feeling pretty good. Round 3, I got paired into another Lexi, somebody who I recognize to be a pretty good player. I win the dice roll and choose for him to go first. I draw my first 4 cards, and it's 3 of a kinds and a rain razors. And he just starts attacking me out of nowhere. He goes like Falcon Wing +1 attack, I can't block that, and then he goes a Frostlock, I think fused. So I have to block with 2 of the 3 of a kinds. I have a very poor 3 of a kind Rain Razor's turn on my next turn, and things were just not looking good at all. So I kind of chose to race him as quick as I could because so many of my power cards are gone and he hasn't seen any of his yet, so I should
Yeah.
probably end it sooner than later. And yeah, the terrible luck just continued through that game. It was pretty frustrating. The next round, I get paired into a very good Dromai player that I saw on the top tables all the way up until the end of day 2. I think he came very close to top 8ing the calling. I almost made him run out of cards, and he pitch stacked like a very, very strong last 8 cards that just I couldn't do anything about. And then in the 2-2 bracket, I lost to some Azuris that it's just such a bad matchup. I don't know. I don't know how to deal with Spider's Bite into Censor, name 3 of a kind. It's just
Right.
unbeatable.
Okay.
I so I dropped from the calling and I joined a Blitz like super armory or side event or some sort of like 5-round double the prizes sort of thing. And I'm actually so happy I did this because I run into some very good players that are practicing for the Battle Hardened tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I lose to a Kano within like a minute because in my sideboard cards I have like Spell Void 2 and a Vexing Quill hand, and I'm trying to draw Oasis Respites, and I think I like Soul Shackle 1 away. And so because of this learning experience, I think I go like 4-1 in this event. I changed my sideboard drunk in the hotel room that night.
As we do.
Like, yeah, we're not gonna try drawing Oasis Respites anymore. I don't need this Vexing Quill hand for anything. So I just added all the Shroud of Darkness equipment, like
Yep.
the Spell Void 2 type equipment. So now in Decano, the game plan is just to play Spell Void 8. Just but I'm just so happy I did that because then the next day, of course, I play like 5 Kanos and it pays off tremendously.
And Felix, what part of the are you doing the calling, or are you working on side events on Saturday?
So I was on the calling. I was part of the end of round team working with Fred, very, very good friend, and Canadian JCR, but also with Logan and Kirby, who I worked with in Indianapolis, and team led by Steven Zwanger, who was either the head, I think he was the head judge at Calling Indianapolis too. So really, really good team
Nice.
that I was very, very happy to work with. But before I move on, Spell Void 8 sounds absolutely terrifying. Like that's crazy.
What do they do? I start at 28 life. They start at 15.
That's crazy.
So I'm going to put you on the spot, Felix.
Yeah.
Were you able to track our local Alberta brethren throughout Saturday at all?
Yes, I was. And I got to tell you, one of the most stressful things about judging is watching all your friends go up and down the table order while being helpless to help them, and also having to retain that appearance of professionalism.
Neutrality.
Exactly. Because as Andrew said, like, you know, I do my best to be incredibly, you know, poker face
Impartial
throughout it all. Yeah. And yeah, at the same time, when you do see your teammates, or not your teammates, but your friends get a bad hand or not, it's tough to watch sometimes. So I do my best just to keep my same walk pattern, just go back and forth the same way, try not to rubberneck look at the score or the life totals. But yeah,
Huge
tracking.
shout outs to our Alberta boys, Alex, Jacob, and Lucas, though, all doing well enough to qualify for day 2 in the calling.
Yeah, Alberta
And
had a really good conversion rate, 3 out of 7, like into day 2, and considering that 600 people registered for the calling and day 2 was only like 80 people or something, to send 3 out of 7 into day 2 was truly incredible.
Yeah,
And yeah,
that's amazing. Congratulations to those boys that made day 2. That's a huge feat.
yeah, this is the best showing for Alberta collectively that we've had in any major event, between the Battle Hardened, which we'll get to, and the calling. So at the end of the day, you know, when you take your judge shirt off and all that, then that's when you breathe your big sigh of relief and go celebrate with your friends.
Yeah. So I guess before we move into the reason why Andrew's here today with us, did either of you want to say anything more about Saturday?
No, I don't have anything else. Saturday was a big day. It was big shout out to the cosplay competition actually.
true.
It was, my shift had ended. I was absolutely dead on my feet, but it was just as the cosplay competition was getting started.
Okay.
So there was not a seat available that had any sort of visibility to the stage. But so I toughed it out. I stood, and it was a blast. I mean, there were so many impressive cosplays. Of course, the Data Doll cosplay
Yeah.
that won. It was
Amazing.
unquestionable. Yeah, the level of difficulty and the skill at which it was executed, but so many of the different cosplays were awesome. For example, the female Bravo, the player actually played in the calling and seemed to be doing pretty good. She was mid tables usually when I saw her, and she played in the PTI event as Lena Bell the day
Yeah,
before and seemed
I
to be
played
doing
her in
pretty
the
well too.
PTI event.
Oh, did
Yeah,
you?
yeah, she was nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, there's the Lexi. I think that was Carolina,
Yep.
and I saw her playing in the calling, and she was actually playing Dash. And every bone in my body wanted to say, you know, ma'am, this is an illegal deck. You registered the wrong hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's disqualified.
So
Didn't do
how many
that.
hours were you playing for on Saturday, Andrew?
Felix, what time did the calling start? Was it 10 or 9?
I think it started at 10. Nationals started at 9, calling at 10.
Okay. So, I don't know. I just remember feeling like I was gonna die there after playing like 7 rounds of that and then signing up for the first Blitz event that I thought I could find, and then them announcing it's 5 or 6 rounds. I was like, oh no. Everybody had left me to go for dinner. I'm just alone in this hall, just playing these Blitz games. Ugh, it was too long.
Yeah.
And I kept making the mistake of every night. Like we were staying out till like 2:30 or 3 a.m. every night. The drinks just kept going. Like they were some long days.
Did you stay in the resort that night, or were you out?
Saturday, I think we stayed in the resort.
Yeah.
We went to the sushi place in the resort for all you can eat sushi whenever I finished that Blitz side event. And then yeah, just all over the place, like playing in the sports bar, chatting with Flake in the sports bar, watching people play poker, watching people play blackjack, like
Yep.
playing Flesh and Blood, just all over that resort.
You really made the most of that vacation.
It feels like it.
That's great.
That's one of the best things about Vegas, though. Like I've thought about some of the times where I've gone to a few other conventions or events, and you come out, like you don't leave with everybody, you stick around for whatever reason, and you come out and everything's closed and there's nothing around.
Yeah.
Whereas at Vegas, you can get dinner any time of day you want, and you can stay and have fun and get the most of it out of your experience because you don't have to worry about getting somewhere before something closes.
I think if I do have one regret about judging all 3 days is that my days were pretty structured, and because my judging style is very high energy, and I'm just going somewhere at all times, I am so dead by the time I'm done. I do not have any energy to to go out crawling the strip and all that.
Yeah.
There's this meme on Twitter that said, I ate at the Westgate Sports Bar all 3 days and survived.
Dude,
that was me.
Alex lived that meme.
Yeah. The thing is, he
Alex about
hated
that.
it. I
He
loved
hated it so much.
I loved it. I'm like, yeah, I just want to grab a burger and fries and then collapse in my room. Like, I'm not here to have all this fancy stuff.
You guys gotta bug him about that after the next armory. Just like, hey guys, you want to go to a sports bar?
This is a new meme. Don't worry. We have lots of memes as a community
for Alex.
Yeah, for everyone. Yeah,
for everyone. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So quickly, how long was your day roughly on Saturday, Felix?
Yeah. So for 10 o'clock, my call time was 9:30, which was pretty late for a judge, which is fine.
Yeah.
And I wrapped up around 6:30 to 7, which is again at around the same time the cosplay contest started. And of course, you get an hour break for lunch, and you get a half an hour to just relax. So,
right,
yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so moving into Sunday, the Battle Hardened. Obviously, Andrew, you've registered Chain on Spell Void 8 for Kano. Was there any other spice in your deck that other Chain players might not be aware of?
I had 2 red lead the charges just for any Prism players that might be playing Arclight Sentinel. And then I had an Invert Existence for the Chain Mirror matchup. And then, I don't know, I saw most of these other Chain players playing Swarming Gloomveil and Revel in Runeblood and some other cards that I don't play. But I feel like since having 1,000 net plus hours into Chain, I've just tried to make it as streamlined and consistent and to the point of how I want to play it as possible.
Right.
And so a lot of the cards just kind of do the same thing, and apart from the lead the charges, there's nothing too fancy going on.
Are you Blood Debt Light, Blood Debt Heavy, Blood Debt Mid?
I'd say mid.
Okay.
Yeah, other people, they delve into a lot of the yellow and blue Blood Debt cards that I don't like as much. I have the yellow Riftbinds, and then blue Bounding Demigons and blue Shadow Versers, of course, and I think that might even be it for Blood Debt cards that are blue or yellow.
Does Oldhim not being in the format anymore give you a lot more deck building flexibility?
Yeah, and it also just makes me just the happiest camper on the planet. Beforehand, that and Icelander were the only things I couldn't beat. And now that those are both gone, I feel like I should just be a Blitz boy full time, and I can't wait. I wish I could play a Battle Hardened every day right now.
So Shea and I shouldn't feel bad when you just knocked us all over in that Blitz skirmish.
No, I don't think so. I think that is above and beyond my favorite deck I've ever found in any card game, and that's allowed me to just invest bajillions of hours into it.
Yeah.
And at this point, it just feels kind of like muscle memory.
I spent a little bit of time in the Purple Discord Prism channel.
Yeah.
And they seem to think that Prism's basically unbeatable over there right now. And I find that almost any chain is very difficult as a Prism player to survive. Like, just the husk is so huge. And then once he gets to Shackle 3, he's just presenting so much damage that I don't even know how you can keep cards. So I always found that chatter interesting. Do you think that it's a walk in the park to play against Prism, or is there, if they draw an Arclight at the right time, it'll end you, or how does that matchup kind of feel?
I've always really, really enjoyed that matchup. And there were some like RTN PQ seasons in the past where I had to practice that matchup a lot, either as Chain or Viserai. And so now maybe I've kind of figured out the tricks and I know what to look for. But I do think it's a super favorable matchup for me, apart from, they can find some pretty cheesy wins with an Arclight Sentinel or back-to-back Arclight Sentinels towards that mid to end game. But now if I find a lead the charge, I can stick it in Arsenal the entire game. And it feels like a very, very, very good matchup.
All right. Do you want to start telling us about the Battle Hardened experience that you had?
Yeah. Again, I woke up just absolutely blitzed. I'm thinking, how on earth am I going to play cards today? I've got this like deck list I made at 3 in the morning, and I'm just like, chugging Gatorade and just trying to figure out how to be a human again. And stroll into the battle hard. My friends are like, nah, it's easy. Like, you can play Chain with your eyes closed. You know, Chain. Like, yeah, sure, whatever. So, yeah, roll into the battle hardened. And round one, I played a KO. That went pretty well. Having so much armor is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Round two, I think I played a Rhinar. That went well. Round three, I played a Kasai. I'm like, okay, we're getting into the tier S decks that I'm a little bit scared of. And that was very, very, very close. Kasai is scary because it's hard to pick and choose when you want to, let them leak a damage or two, or actually give them a silver token or a copper token, whatever it is. And then I was trying to remember for a solid 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure I played all chains and Kanos the rest of the day. Just all straight in a row. Like I was saying at that point when it was pretty clear that I was sitting on table one 3 or 4 rounds in a row. It was coming down to 3 XOs and then me being the only XO. The top table, like for even like a table and a half, seemed to be all chain and Kano. There was one Briar, one Prism, one Ira for a little while, and those people kind of disappeared.
Was there any notable players at the top table sitting beside you?
Absolutely. Looking down the table from me, there was Tyler Horsepool, there was Brody Spurlock, there was Alexander Vore, there was Majin Bay. There was so many people that I didn't recognize, but I recognized their faces or their jerseys for sure as people that have finished things, but just couldn't put a name to their face. Found out later, like, Michael Feng's just in the top 8 with me. Lots of people in the Magnolia Gaming jerseys. I was pretty scared. I'm like, man, these top tables are stacked, and everyone is on Chain or Kano. I am so scared.
So you've been to a few pro tours where the hardcore of the hardcore people play. I know you just kind of mentioned that you were scared, but you and I have kind of talked about this a little bit before. How did you feel in the moment sitting beside those people? Did it feel like all your hard work is paid off? Were you actually scared, or were you like, yep, this is where I feel like all my hours of putting time into this hero, this game have put me, and this is where I feel like I belong?
Yeah, more so that probably. And what I do is I get very excited to play them. Like I was telling Brody that I wanted him to catch up to me because I really wanted to play him. And, chatting with Tyler Horspool
Yeah.
too, telling him I wanted to play him. Like I I get excited and focused, and I'm like, that is the next challenge that I would love to play and overtake. And I can tell that, like my chain list and the way I'm playing chain, how fast I'm making these decisions, like, and the conversations I'm having with these players too, like people on the wolf pack asking me like why I choose to go first over going second, like people coming up asking my advice, asking how I feel about, Husk versus Carapace, and it's starting to feel pretty good.
Nice. That's a really good headspace to be in, and I think for a lot of people that's not an easy headspace to be in, where instead of being, oh my god, I'm sitting beside Brody Spurlock, you're like, yes, let's go, bro, I want a piece of you. Like, that's a really amazing place, and I think that probably is one of the things that helps you keep performing well at those top tables.
My entire life in all of these video games, or even in hockey, I want to be playing against the people that are better than me, or go after the best person in the room, because I find like that's what's going to make me better, and that's what's going to actually, you know, improve my confidence or my self-esteem by like the stat or the proof of it. And I really like it in Flesh and Blood because there's so much of like the less variance than there is in Magic. Like, if I have that like really lucky game in a game of Magic where I beat somebody with a really big name, but they're just getting mana screwed the whole time, it
Yeah.
doesn't really do too much to boost the self-esteem or the confidence. But there's something different about Flesh and Blood where I have a very hard fought, kind of close game where I beat one of these people and I can look and see that I still have quite a bit of life left, and then they start, asking my opinions or my advice, or complimenting how I played. Somebody who top aided the calling, I played in the PTI event on Friday, and he sat there for a good like 5 or 6 minutes after the game, just complimenting like my sequencing and my lines, and why I like use some equipment so early to get tempo and board control against this Dromai match, and stuff. It's the little things like that that feel really good to me.
From my side of the room as well, as the day went on, I started hearing actual people chattering about this one chain that was EXO in the Battle Hardened. And it wasn't just the Alberta crew that was congregating in the area. It was actually just people that I had never recognized, not from Canada or anywhere, just talking about your performance, and you were so far ahead in Swiss. Like, it was
Nice.
actually incredible. Like, yeah.
It was a really sweet feeling to be like 6-0 and know I'm locked to top 8. And then I think round 7 I played Majin Bay and won there too, pretty handedly with all the Spell Void equipment. And I'm like, sweet, I'm absolutely just locked for first seed. I'm the only XO left in the room. And knowing I have to play Alexander Vor next probably, and being like, yeah, let's go. I'm so excited. Like probably the best Kano player in the world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then winning that one as well. And everyone just started rooting for me. They're like, all right, let's go. It's probably
Yeah.
your first or second battle hard. Let's see if you can go 12-0.
You didn't scoop him in.
No.
No. Just did him dirty.
The ELO, the XP.
You gotta earn it, bro. No freebies here.
Oh no.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you EXO make top 8. Who was your first opponent in the top 8?
Don't remember his name. Looking harder. His name was Jesse, and he was also playing Kano. And I don't know what happened to the two of us. Just the break to go get our pictures taken, go for a walk, talk to people, set everything up, get ready for the top 8, go to the washroom. We both played the sloppiest games of Flesh and Blood of our entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
He put out the wrong equipment. I made a huge misplay, and then I forgot to do something else like the turn after that, and both of us just needed to like kind of put our head in our hands and like breathe for a couple minutes and just like drink some water and just laugh. We're like, what are we doing?
Those are the weirdest games. I've experienced it, and I'm sure other people have. You're performing optimally. You feel like everything's working as it should, and then out of nowhere, you're like miscalculating pitch, blocking with the wrong card, or doing whatever. And you're like, what is going on? So, what did you do in the middle of that game to recover from this wild state?
I was so on tilt the way that I punted what I did with Art of War. I could have got like another like 6 or 7 damage over. And then being on tilt because of it, I forgot to draw with Plunder Run hitting, and I could have put something in Arsenal.
Mhm.
So double so on
Yeah.
tilt. And him, I think too, was pretty frustrated putting the wrong equipment out just by accident. I really just had to like focus up and play with my hat and look around the room and drink water and just really get back into like the focused mind zone. Like lucky for me in that matchup, I'm still able to just present lethal and then sit and wait and see if he tells me if I win or not with all my spell void equipment. He gets to, do the Kano stuff and look at the top of the deck and then let me know if I won or not.
Yeah.
So luckily enough there, I was able to take the win, and I had to go for like quite the serious walk around the convention center and go to the washroom and splash water on my face. And I'm just telling myself like, I could have lost that. I deserve to lose that. That is so bad. That can't happen again. Like that's how I've lost in these situations so many times before. And so like wake up call, like thank you so much that I actually punted and still made it out with the win. And so now this needs to absolutely not happen again.
So, from my perspective, during the day, toward the end of Sunday is when judges start to get released from judge duties and we're turned over to manual labor, which is fine. Like, nothing like a little bit of mindless tasks just
Picking up
to
chairs?
close out the day. Not picking up chairs, but because we work for SCG, we the chairs and tables are with the convention center, But this is where we start packing away like the floor, like the boards and
Standees
any
and
SCG, specific
right.
stuff and the table numbers. So I remember now I'm walking with this little dolly cart, like picking up the scoreboards from around the room, and Andrew's playing in this cordoned off area. So I'm just walking with my dolly cart, just completely rubbernecking to see how Andrew's doing, and all I can see is his head in his hands. I'm like, oh, like, is this bad? Like, is he losing? Like, I can't see anything. Like, my eyesight's terrible. Like, the barriers are quite far back. This is gonna come up again. But yeah, the barriers are quite far back, so I'm just like squinting, trying to figure out what's happening. And then every time I walk around, like it's another 5 minutes, I'm like, well, Andrew's still there. He's not lost. Like, so yeah, it was very tense for me. a, a
Yeah.
fraction of what Andrew was going through, but
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a bit of a funny story. Because, yeah,
Stress through osmosis.
that's right.
True.
Yeah.
All right. So we're into the what is that, semis now?
Yeah, and I run into another Kano. And this one, I believe, his name's Ryan. I believe he's on the wolf pack as well. I really came into this one with so much more like confidence and focus, and I'm awake now. I'm going to send it. By the way, I should have mentioned being first seed throughout this entire top 8 means I get to choose forever if I would like to play first or play second.
Yep.
And I think this is a massive advantage into the Kano matchup because I choose to play first and I make my soul shackle and just say I'm going to Arsenal. And if the Kano player activates Kano one too many times, I'm going to just come across with so much damage. The first thing's already going to have go again from me activating Chain. And with the Spell Void 8 equipment, I'm pretty much just waiting until there's a massive combo piece or until the things are going to be lethal and I get to spend every card in my hand just putting all the gas across the table.
Yeah.
This is a little bit unintuitive for me, actually, because the rule of thumb that I thought was there was you always want to go second into Kano. Do you not?
You know, I just don't like it. If I go second, he might do his Kano things on turn 1 and send quite a few points of damage across, and I don't think I'm popping my Spell Void equipment on anything. And like even the one that's like opt X, I don't want to have to sit there thinking so hard about am I giving away 2 pieces of equipment on my turn 0 to stop him from looking at the top 4 cards. But alternatively, if I go first, at least I can punish him from trying to do a couple Kanos. And if they recognize this threat and they don't do any Kanos, at least I get to set up a little bit, hopefully stick something really solid in my arsenal, like a Plunder Run or an Artivore or a Belittle or Shadow Puppetry, something like this. Now they're going to have their first turn with their unfiltered hand of 4 cards, and maybe they'll deal some arcane damage, and then I get to go straight into my Soul Shackle 1 5-card hand and hopefully just present more than lethal since they start at 15 life.
Okay, that makes sense. And the fact that you're running Spell Void 8, not AB3 Spell Void 2,
Yeah.
does change the scales. Yeah, I'm just saying Spell Void 8. Yeah, it's not something I'm used to thinking about.
With Kano, because Kano can kill turn 1, turn 2. Did it ever feel like, even with the Spell Void 8 and having no AB, that there was chances that you could die? Because once you use those pieces, they're gone, and then now you're AB 0.
Absolutely. There was so many positions where it was very, very stressful. I've presented lethal on my second turn of the game, and now they have to go for it. And I mean, I'm sitting there while they're opting and thinking forever and Kanoing and putting things to the bottom and ragamuffins hatting and thinking even longer and Kanoing again. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, okay, like, I've already taken like 8 arcane or something. So,
Yeah.
now he just has to deal 20 and I die. Also, those 3 new equipments that have the Shroud 2 or the Spell Void 2, whatever it is, they also have Blood Debt. So I kind of have to be careful not to pop them all and go to 3 sort of deal. Because that can also be quite stressful. So yeah, there was definitely some times where I'm just sitting there waiting for them to tell me if I win or not, and they are, banishing like a blue card off the top with Kano. But I think it still is a pretty difficult feat for them to find some sort of massive combo for over 20 damage just in the
Yeah,
top 4 or 8 cards of their deck.
yeah, that's fair.
Just gotta go fast.
Just gotta go. So you get there, and we're into the finals now. Who's your opponent in the finals?
In the finals, I have to play Michael Feng, who's somebody I've never had the pleasure of meeting before until now, but so nice, so funny. What an absolute pleasure to play against. Um, and at this point, too, the calling is winding down. And so proud of our boys like Alex for finishing 13th place, Jacob and Lucas doing so well, my boy Oscar from Montreal getting 17th place.
Mhm.
Everything kind of winded down to Yuki Lee Bender playing whoever her opponent was in the finals. I didn't really get to see because I was playing, but the crowd just erupts and cheers. I find out Yuki has won. So that's +1 for Canada on
Yeah,
events that aren't US nationals. And now I'm like, man, I really have a shot to 2-0 this for Canada right here.
yeah,
um, but this huge crowd that had accumulated around Yuki all just kind of mills over to my game. It's like, oh boy, here we go. So sit down against Michael Feng. I choose to play first again, and both of our decks just absolutely hate us. Both decks have just said like, all right, we gave you like 11 rounds of good luck. This is it. There is nothing more. So my first hand is the worst I've ever seen in my entire life, and I make my rune chant, my soul shackle, and go to pass the turn. And his hand also must be the worst he's ever seen in his entire life, because he pitches an invert existence to cast an Artivore for no reason on my turn, just to get rid of these 2 cards. He's not even banishing anything. He's not drawing more cards. He's just needing to get rid of these 2 cards.
wow.
And I look at my hand, and my only attack is a Shadow Averser. Like, if I have a Shrill or something, I can do 7 with Go Again and then 2 and 2 with the sword and, like, leak quite a bit of damage through on this turn 1. But I have nothing, so I just Arsenal and pass, and his first turn isn't so good. My second turn isn't so good. And then he has quite a large turn, and I have to give all of the equipment away. And then I have a turn with it's 4 red cards. I have a blue Mauvern's Guys in Arsenal. My only attack in hand is this red Bounding Demigon. And then his turn becomes quite face up because of the 2 belittles and what he's showing me, and the fact that they both get 2 red Minnoisms.
Mhm.
So I'm at 16. I have 1 armor left on Grasp. He's presenting 15 damage face up. I can see on this first attack that's coming in, and I'm in the tank for so long trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with these 3 red 2 blocks and this Bounding Demigon in my hand. And he can present 15 damage, put me to 1. I'm going to die to my Carrion Husk and my Banish. Or if I go to 3, it's so easy for him to kill me in Arcane with the sword. So I have to give 2 cards here, I'm thinking. But then even then, it's so easy to just die to like a Revel or Arcane or like the sword and Invert Existence or something. So I have a good like 10-minute think about this. So frustrated. And in the end, I decide to just gamble because we are in Vegas. I'm going to hit an attack off of my 2 Soul Shackles, and then I'll be able to play like, a Minnoism and the Mauvern's Guys and hopefully play a big attack and then follow it up with the sword for 2 and 2. So I block with the Bounding Demigon and another 2 block just to save some life, keep the 2 cards in hand. And he doesn't play the second Minnoism, which kind of makes me look a little bit silly. Just it's a very, very good play by him, though, because he knows that, his next turn, he might need it to enable
Yeah,
like
it's his
Bounding
non-attack.
Demigons from Banish or, just buff some things up. But I'm sitting there thinking I'm absolutely going to 2 or 3 or 5 at the end of this turn, and then he doesn't play that second Minnoism. But we go over to my turn, and of course my 2 Soul Shackles do not hit. I do get an Invert Existence, so my whole turn is just swing for 2, go again with the sword, and Invert Existence. But to my absolute surprise, he blocks the sword, and then he pitches for the Invert Existence and stops the Arcane. And I'm thinking like, damn, I'm still in this game. Some other context too, he had a 5-card hand coming up, and he even used the Crown to filter 1 card. So I'm so expecting a huge chain hand to come back across, and then he gives me 2 cards. and it's like, what is happening? His hand is still so bad. I'm still so in this game. I'm down to such a low life total. His turn's really small again. My turn's really small again. And then I die. It was very, very unfortunate because there's 2 huge windows in there where if I just have one more attack or just have a blue, I think I take that game really handedly because his deck is also just completely hating him. Or in so much hindsight, because I'm sitting here haunted about this, I've been thinking about this all weekend. I think I'm supposed to give him the 2/2 blocks and like go to 4 and at least play like, you know, the Mauvern Skies, the Demigon, 3 go again on hit, make a rune chant, swing the sword for 2 and 2, because, you know, his next hand was also just so bad. I could still be in that game.
Yep.
Hey, hindsight
Tough.
is 2020. There's no way you can go back and call your decision wrong based on stuff you didn't know. From yeah, that was the point at which I had been released from my manual labor and just ran over to join the gaggle of people that were leaned up against the barrier. And just as I got there, I saw the Art of War come off the top and the Invert Existence, and my heart just sank into the pit of my stomach, not really understanding the context of what else had happened. But I mean, still, what a great game, hey? Like, just to be up there, to be in that fight.
Yeah, I'm super, super proud. My goal since starting this game in 2021, a big one, has been to win a PTI, and now I have accomplished that. So
Yeah,
nothing to be frustrated about there.
no, and
That's what I
yeah,
sign up for too, though. You definitely live by the chain, die by the chain. It's not the first time dying to banking on a soul shackle hitting.
yeah, not by a long shot. That is such an incredible story. And I mean, when Michael showed you the revel at the end, and you know, I heard him say, well, you know, Canada at least got one or something like that. And
Yeah,
I
because I'm
remember,
making
yeah,
jokes with him when I have that really bad sword into invert existence turn and I
yeah,
pass the turn, he just has a 3-card hand. I said, okay, I really want you to think about Canada on this next turn, okay? I want you to think about snow and syrup and mooses.
yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, that was a surreal moment for us as well, because there's such a big groan from our cheering section. And I just remember this stupid waist high barrier. Like, all I wanted to do was like run over to you, but because I'm a lawful good person, I like ran like around like one way. That I saw how long I would have to run in order for there to be a break in the barrier. So then I ran back and like reluctantly hopped over the barrier. And yeah, and
Thomas
Thomas was
yeeted
already
himself
there.
over the
Oh
barrier
yeah,
so fast, and I thought I heard you like run left, run
yep,
right, come
that
back.
was me. That's that's the difference between him and me.
That is so funny.
Yeah, but yeah, man, still like what an incredible performance. Yeah, by yourself getting that PTI, you know, just being up there, showing that you belong with all of the best players in Flesh and Blood, definitely. And yeah, also for Alex Knott from Calgary, 13th place in the calling, again finishing above so many big names in Flesh and Blood. And he had the record to get into top 8. There was a 10-3 that made top 8, just the breakers weren't there for him. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's incredible performance for both of you. And yeah, like you said, you have a PTI, got that special playmat. Did you leave your cash prize in Vegas, or you coming back with some?
I haven't got it yet. They said they'd email me to contact me about how I received that. So
Got it.
that's still in the mail. That's
All
good.
right, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Man, just listening to you guys talk about the weekend and being able to even still share stories with each other, like Felix being able to watch your games, I'm so jealous. Um, I wish I could have been there. It sounds like it was so much fun. Um, you know, is there anything else that you'd like to rub in my face over this weekend that you enjoyed, or you wanted to give somebody a shout out, or an experience you wanted to share at this point?
Nah, I wish you were there too, Shay. But there's gonna be many, many, many more. You can
Oh
come
yeah,
to the rest of them with me. I'll give you
Yeah.
so much Andrew time.
sounds good.
I don't know. There's nobody in particular I want to shout out. I just love these events so much because through traveling to so many of them, I'm just making so many friends all over Canada and America, and like those other Americans I was talking about from the video games. Like the one friend Reese doesn't even play Flesh and Blood, and he still just came to hang out with us and experience Vegas and just have a sweet vacation weekend. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. That just makes it so much more fun.
Yeah, it was an incredible weekend getting to hang out with the friends that you came down with, but also just hanging out with friends that you don't get to see in person very often, which increasingly is many members of the international, or at least the North American judge community as well, is awesome. There was a nice little staff party on the Sunday afterwards. So yeah, I got to hang out with the casters a little bit, and the head judges and Klaus, and a lot of the people that we've had on this podcast as well. So doing stuff like that is incredible, and I know we're gonna have lots of opportunities hopefully next year and beyond. um I guess one, if it does alleviate anything though, Shay, with every event, at least for me, comes a lot of post-event blues or post-event depression, because
Yeah,
you spend a whole weekend just living such a fun life, from high to high to high, and coming back to your day job and responsibilities and bills and all that. It's yeah, it's tough.
True.
no, I do appreciate it. And yeah, any closing thoughts or anything that you guys wanted to, I guess, add before we wrap her up?
No, I'm good. Just thanks so much for having me again, guys.
Yeah, massive congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to you. And again, like we've mentioned before, to the Alberta crew, we're all really proud of how well you guys performed this past weekend here.
And barely talked about U.S. nationals, but massive shout outs to Breyer. I guess we'll need to pour one out for Breyer now. Getting taken across the finish line with style, with
True.
Dread Scythe.
Reaping Blade.
Reaping Blade. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Reaping Blade. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to the IP2 podcast. You can find us on YouTube at IP2 Podcast, on Twitter at IP2 Podcast, on Mastodon, IP2 Podcast, at wraith.social. Thank you. I would like to interject, like, Andrew's not just here because he had a big result in the Battle Hardened.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
We could have grabbed Alex.
Yeah, we could have.